Jean-Philippe Soule has led a marvelously colorful life. In this episode, we hear from Jean-Phi from the perspective of award-winning author, travel adventurer, athlete, humanitarian, photographer, and motivational speaker. Jean-Philippe ran ultramarathons as a teenager, served in the elite mountain commando special forces of the French Army, worked as a mountain guide in rescue operations, taught ice diving as a master scuba diver trainer in the USA, raced cross-country ski marathons in Japan, became Japan Cycling Prologue National Champion at a UCI Asia Tour race, and sea kayaked 3,000 miles while free diving to spear his daily food. He is also a national USA cycling coach and licensed French guide, organizing bicycle tours in the most spectacular mountains of Europe. Most recently, he has organized the annual Ultra Bike Pursuit event through the Pyrenees Mountains of Spain, France, and Andorra. Check out episode 28 with Pierre Charles to hear all about that. Don't miss this storybook episode. I'm your host, Justin Tu. Let's roll. Hey Ultra family, Justin Tu here, your host of the Ultra Cycling Show. Thanks for tuning in today's very special and adventurous episode with our guest who has led a very colorful life as an award-winning author, travel adventurer, athlete, humanitarian, photographer, and motivational speaker. I just got to catch my breath there. Best described on his personal website, for over 50 years and counting, 54-year-old Jean-Philippe Soule travels the world, climbing mountains, crossing jungles, diving and sea kayaking wild oceans, and discovering the planet's most remote regions. His expeditions and world travels often include endurance sports and cultural discoveries. His unquenchable thirst for adventure started at just the age of 3 years old. He was also an ultra marathon runner as a teenager. He served in the elite mountain commando special forces of the French Army, worked as a mountain guide in rescue operations, taught ice diving as a master scuba diver trainer in the USA, raced cross-country ski marathons in Japan, became a Japan Cycling Prologue National Champion at a UCI Asia Tour race, and sea kayaked 3,000 miles while free diving to spear his daily food. And that's only half of it. So without further ado, let's just first greet and welcome Jean-Philippe Soule to the show. Jean-Phi, thank you for joining us today.
Hi, Justin. Thank you for having me.
Whew, man, I need to take a bit of a break, a little rest stop, get some hydration and food after all that. Can't believe that is all just in one lifetime, Jean-Phi.
It's not over, hopefully.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the impressive thing. And Jean-Phi, so I'm really looking forward to, of course, diving into your life and all of your adventures. You are an author, you have a book and others in the making. But of course, for those ultra cyclists who are watching, I want them to also know that you are the organizer of the Ultra Bike Pursuit. We had an episode with the winner of the Ultimate Pyrenees Pursuit this year, Pierre Charles, just recently, several episodes ago. And it's a fantastic event that I'm sure many will enjoy learning about and also looking into participating in next year and the years to come. You are an avid bicyclist yourself as well, and so is your wife, Yumi. And it's just a great story. You have a grand life, and I'm sure we'll all live vicariously through the stories that we'll share today. And I hope that all of our lives could be as adventurous as yours. I would love to also let folks know a little bit more about you before we dive into the usual sprint round of questions, just because I think it is very illustrative of who you are, what we'll be chatting about. And because, of course, this episode can't be 8 hours long, so I would like to just give everyone a whirlwind tour of who you are before we get into everything else. You also, in another lifetime, but strangely within the 54 years, you are also a program manager at Microsoft. You lived here in the US, but currently you reside and call home France. You love bicycling, of course, through the Pyrenees Mountains. And of course, the Ultra Bike Pursuit goes through most of that. And you are a national USA cycling coach and licensed French guide organizing bicycle tours in the spectacular mountains of Europe. I don't know how you found the time to do all of this, Jean-Phi. You've also practiced high-level sports your entire life yourself. And you've also been very busy writing all kinds of books to capture these adventures because, of course, in this show, we won't even be able to scratch the surface. So it's an honor and a privilege to have you and a delight that we'll be able to chat. So thanks again for making the time.
Well, thank you for making that long resume of my life.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm sure I've left out quite a lot. Before we get started, I'd love just to hear very shortly from you. How would you describe yourself in a couple sentences?
I love life. I love adventure. I love people, and I live for passion. So I love to share my passion with people. I think most of my life is about passion and about sharing it with people.
I love that. And of course, I've seen that in everything that you've sent me and everything that I've seen online. I would love to show folks just a few photos of yourself as a cyclist so they could see that you are the real deal. Some awesome photos. And I imagine these are in France?
Yes, these are all in the Pyrenees, actually.
Wow. That must be incredible to be able to ride out there all the time. And of course, here are some photos from the Ultra Bike Pursuit event that you host. Incredible views and spectacular scenery. You also organize and offer amazing bicycle tours out there in France. So for those who would like to enjoy their ride and not necessarily race like Pierre Charles here did, they can sign up and enjoy a nice ride, good food, and a fun time.
Yeah, it's very different. The same mountains, but approached differently.
Right.
On the tours, we do it at well, not a leisure pace. Some people are quite strong and they like to push themselves. But we always finish with a very comfortable hotel, a semi-gastronomic restaurant, and some of them have massage, and so it's quite different. We always have like vehicles to support the cyclist. It's all custom made. And we privileged comfort. Comfort is the most important thing. In the ultra bike pursuit race, comfort is not really part of it. It's you discover the same beautiful scenery. It's spectacular, but it's challenging, very, very challenging. And you could do what Pierre Charles did and sleep every night in a hotel. He did that most nights, I think. Or you could do what other participants did, which is never spend a single night in a hotel and sleep on the side of the road, like many bikepackers like to do. But yeah, these are very, very different things.
Right. That's cool. So you definitely span the spectrum there. And very quickly, some stats on the Ultra Bike Pursuit. The Ultimate Pyrenees Pursuit, which is the combined course, is 1,430 miles, so 1,430 miles. But notably, it climbs 182,700 feet. So that's a lot of climbing through those Pyrenees Mountains. And then, of course, you do offer some other options that we'll get into later, which are, I wouldn't say any easier, but they are less distance and less climbing. And I look forward to getting into that. But as we get started, I'd love to dive into a quick sprint round of questions to get to know you in a fun way as a cyclist yourself. And then afterwards, we can get into all of the events, all of the tours, your books, your own adventures, and much, much more. So very excited to be chatting with you. Thanks again for making this time. Now, Jean-Phi, how long have you been riding bicycles yourself? And how long would you say you've been an ultra cyclist?
Those are two very different questions. So I started cycling in Japan when I was 29 years old. So that was 25 years ago. So I didn't start cycling very early. First, I was a mountain guide. And in Japan, I was racing cross-country skiing, marathons and ultra marathons. And in Japan, I started cycling. I won the UCI prologue race there and became the national champion on my very first big race, my first season. And I loved cycling right away. I think it worked quite well with the experience I had in the mountains before. I was already a mountain guide in France, but I started cycling late. So I've been cycling for 25 years. I've been a coach for about 16 years, a
Wow.
little longer, but 18 years. And I've been guiding tours for 15 years now.
Wow.
So I've been organizing tours in all the mountains of France, Spain, and Italy for 15 years. But I started ultra distance cycling for my 50th birthday. I wanted to feel alive again, so I decided to cross the Pyrenees in 3 days. I did it on my own. I didn't know anything about bikepacking. I didn't know anything about all this ultra cycling event. I just decided to do that for myself. And then I really liked it, so I picked up a few one-day cycling events. And then my wife told me about an event that crossed all of Europe and that no pair had ever finished. So it started from Norway to all the way to Spain. And we decided to sign up. We finished it.
Oh.
And that was my first ever experience. And that was last year in 2019.
Right. And we were chatting briefly about that before. Congratulations to you and your wife, Yumi. You did reference the event. I want to cover that. I do also have here in the plethora of tabs here. Here we go. Your wife, Yumi, who, if folks were to read on your Velotopa website, so that's where they could find your bicycle tours. Reading through some of the information here, I could tell that Yumi is just as much of an explorer and adventurer as you, and more than that, even an even stronger cyclist in your estimation, right?
Well, she is a pure climber.
Mm,
I'm a fairly heavy built man. I have like big muscles and big bones, and so I'm a pursuiter. I used to
mm,
race track. I'm a pursuiter. I'm really good on the flat,
mm,
but climbing, I climb well for my weight, but I'm heavy.
right.
So on a multiple climbing day, I cannot keep up with my wife. She's an extremely good climber, and I keep up with her on one mountain climb.
Mm.
But when we put like 5, 6 mountain climbs in a row, I have no chance.
Right.
She's
Yeah.
extremely strong. She finished first woman at the Tour du Mont Blanc, which is the
Mm.
biggest one-day road cycling event that goes around Mont Blanc. 330 kilometers with 8,000 meters of elevation gain. She placed first woman at that event.
Wow.
She really is a very strong climber. Yes.
Yeah, that's amazing. So I just did the quick calculation, 8,000 meters, that's over 26,000 feet. So that's almost an Everest in one ride.
Yes.
And how long of a distance did you say that was? 330 kilometers?
330 kilometers, yes.
Okay, so just about a double century, 205 miles with 26,000 feet of climbing. For those viewers in California are familiar with the California Triple Crown series of double centuries, the toughest one is about 21,000 feet of climbing. So that's another 5,000 feet of climbing. That is impressive. And I'm thinking we'll have to have your wife Yumi on the show as well. And of course, your wife is pretty incredible herself as a cyclist, as an adventurer, and also she speaks 3 different languages, right? English, French, and Spanish.
English, French, and Spanish. Yes, that's correct.
Right.
Yes.
And you both met actually on an adventure in Central America, right?
That's correct. Yes, we met in a small indigenous village in the mountains of Guatemala.
Wow. What an incredible adventure, start to the adventure. And I'm sure it's been nonstop adventure since. And Jean-Phi, you did mention the North Cape Tarifa race that you did on your Velotopa website. You've given a nice summary of it here where people can check that out. It ended up being about, for you, 7,800 kilometers and just around 80,000 meters of climbing, 33 days total, but only 31 days of riding because you had 2 days of mechanical issues. And as you
Yes, that's
mentioned,
correct.
you and your wife actually finished this amazing race. Here's their website. as the first pair to do so in 2019. So to give folks an idea, North Cape, all the way up here, northern Norway, coming all the way down to Spain, at Tarifa. Amazing. So that must have been such an incredible adventure. And to do it with your spouse, wow.
That was even more of an adventure.
Yeah. Amazing. Okay, I'll hold myself back and try to be disciplined here. Let's get back to the sprint round before I indulge too much in all of the adventures. So you've been a bicyclist for a very long time, involved in the sport, especially in a variety of capacities, and very much so even till today at 54 years of age. I'm curious, Jean-Phi, how many bicycles do you own?
Currently, I have 2 road bikes, 1 gravel bike, and 1 mountain bike.
Cool. So no shortage of fun for you. Which is your favorite?
My road bike. It's by my okay. I should say my custom-made road bike.
Oh, I see.
It's a Holland bicycle.
Ah, yeah.
Bill Holland. I don't know if you know, but he's a bicycle maker in California.
Yes.
And he makes custom bikes that are just a jewel. They're like beautiful, fantastic to ride. So it's by far the very best bikes I've ever had. My other bike is a Specialized S-Works tarmac. I like it, but as I'm no longer very young, when I guide all day, it kind of kills me because it's very rigid. The Holland bike is just beautiful. It's as good when you want to push on the pedals, but it's much more comfortable. So it's just fantastic. So that's my favorite bike.
Yeah, that sounds cool. Actually, I will point out, if I remember correctly, episode 10, we spoke with Teresa Beck, another racer out here in California. I believe she said she has a Holland bike as well. So actually, have heard of that before, and nice to get another positive review there. We'll have to check it out.
Bill Holland is a fantastic man, and he's one of my customers. He comes regularly on tours in the Pyrenees. So he loves the Pyrenees, and so yes.
Very nice. Now, Jean-Phi, what bicycle computer do you like using? A Garmin, a Wahoo? Is there another brand?
I use them all.
Oh, I see.
I have a love-hate relationship with the Garmin. So let's not talk about the Garmin, but I really like the Wahoo. As a bike computer, I like the Wahoo.
Yes, very popular choice here on the show, and I will say, same sentiment I think that you have and many other guests have shared as well. Now, you do so many different adventures. You do the tours. You do your own training rides. What kind of tires do you like using? What size? What's your preferred tire pressure that you like running them at?
It's actually I don't remember the name. Okay, on the road I use the Schwab Pro 1 tires, tubeless, in 25. And but that's because I live in the Pyrenees, and so the weight is important. I think if I was living on a flatter place, I would use 28. But because the weight is so important, I use 25. So I use 25 that I run usually at about 70 to 80 psi pressure.
Interesting.
I'm a heavy guy. I'm a heavy guy, but I don't like to ride at high pressure because the vibrations really get you tired at the end of the day. As I ride long distance, I don't ride very high pressure. And when I do bikepacking, I forgot the name of these tires, but they're the most expensive and best tires. I forgot. But I run 32s.
Okay.
Although if I was riding in the Pyrenees, I don't think I would take. Maybe I would take 32s, just for comfort.
Mm, yes, yes. Very insightful. No, thank you for sharing that. Of course, I bet you have a lot of experience, not just riding a bunch yourself, and especially there in the Pyrenees, but also because you lead the tours, I'm sure many of your customers may have questions as they prepare to set off on these adventures with you. And of course, you are an expert in that area. And just in general, with all the bicycling you've done and adventuring, I'm sure you have a wealth of experience to share with them. And so people are in good hands when they're on one of your tours. Now, do you these days worry about things like your heart rate or your power when you're doing a tour or a ride, or when you did the great race last year with your wife?
So when I ride really like very long distance, I don't worry about it because it's racing, but you're racing for the very long distance. So you're not really too worried. I mean, you're not going to be in zone three, and you kind of know yourself when you're in. You want to stay in zone one most of the time, and then eventually go into zone two. You might have to go into zone three, in some of the mountains on the steepest section just to move forward. But
Mm,
the goal is to never get into zone three. So
mm,
you don't really need a power meter for that. And although it can be useful, and you don't need to have a heart rate monitor for that also. When I train though, I train with a power meter all the time
mm,
because I found it to be very good. And when I guide, I also use the power meter to make sure that if some customers are very strong, and if they challenge me, to make sure that I don't put myself in the red, because I
yeah.
need to. At the end of the day, they go have a shower, they have a beer, they have a massage. I need to continue working all night. I need to be fresh the next day,
Mm,
and I need to do that day after day the entire season. So I do use the parameter both in training and in guiding, but when I race, I don't. Um, and there are a couple of reasons for that. One, I don't want to have to deal with like charging it or having it stop running and then get frustrated.
mm.
Two, I don't want to be depressed. there are when there are always times when you do ultra distance when you start lacking energy, and then when you
Mm,
start seeing your power, when you're able to so I have a 300-watt FTP,
wow.
and then I can ride all day at like 220 watt.
Mm,
But when you start seeing your power going down under 200 watt or under 180 watt, and then you're suffering, and then it destroys your mental. So
mm.
so I prefer not to have that.
Yeah, that's true, actually. Very good insights. Well, thanks for explaining just how you use these metrics, between again racing and just training. It is important. And also, as you mentioned, mentally, sometimes we just have to turn off the devices or not look at them because they're distracting us from being focused on the adventure at hand. And I couldn't agree more. I've had many times in my own cycling career where I've been in such a difficult place. I've just had to choose to either not bring the bicycle computer with, or just not look at it, because it definitely makes you get negative thoughts in your mind when you see some kinds of discouraging things happening. But of course, especially for a long ride, I can imagine when you were riding 33 days across Europe with your wife, there were many times where physically and mentally it was very difficult, and you had to kind of get over those humps many times, I'd imagine.
Yes, and it's hard enough to move forward if you have something that tells you that you're doing less than half the power that you normally can do.
Yeah.
It's even more depressing. So I prefer not to know.
Yeah, that's true. Well, good strategy and a great tip. Moving on now to the next question, Jean-Phi, wondering, when you're doing all your riding or even your touring, what are some of your own favorite ride snacks and hydration? What do you like eating and drinking on the bike?
So I need to eat a lot. I'm a big eater, and
Mm,
I need a lot of food. So on rides in the Pyrenees when I'm guiding, it's very easy because we have the vehicle that is with us. We have two vehicles always with us,
mm,
sometimes even three. So we always have food at hand everywhere. There are restaurants everywhere,
mm,
so it's pretty easy. On ultra bike racing, depending on the country you're crossing, sometimes there is not much, and that's a big
mm.
problem for me because I need to eat a lot. My wife crossed over Europe without eating much. She
Oh.
almost never needed to stop. I need to stop everywhere there was a place because I always need to eat. Uh, so I usually like to eat. Well, it depends where I am, but I don't like to eat many energy bars or many
Mm,
special like cycling food.
mm,
I find them hard to digest.
mm,
So usually I like to have some solid food. In France, it's easy to find a sandwich with cheese and ham, and I really like that. I like to chew into things.
mm,
If not, I like dried fruits. I like nuts. I definitely like salty things, but
mm,
I don't like the energy bars. They're just too sweet. I take some always, and I take some gel, but I only use them as like emergency.
mm,
And I found that on the ultra cycling, I cannot swallow anything sweet after the second or third day.
mm.
I find it very difficult to digest, and start to get stomach acid in my stomach, and so I usually have a very hard time eating sweet. It's the same thing for drinks. I don't like to have any special drinks. I drink water, but I do get cramps very easily, especially if it's hot. So I take electrolyte pills, but I take them as pills, not as powder. First, I find it's much easier to carry a lot of quantity of small pills that you
Mm.
can have anywhere in your pocket in small tubes, than to have a lot of powder. The powder takes more volume. You use a lot of water to dilute it, and I find when I'm dehydrated, I can only drink water, nothing else. So that's usually what I drink. Now, when I do those ultra distances, it's funny because I never drink Coke, but when I do these ultra distances, I feel like drinking Coke.
Yeah. Well, you're not alone there. I think we all kind of share that. I must say, though, my preferred beverage, cola, is ginger ale, actually. I would always like Sprite, but ginger ale tends to have a stronger flavor that I could actually taste, especially when you get several days into a race. But I really appreciate what you shared. I think it's very insightful. You know, it is true, and many people talk about it and have come to realize for themselves that it is very difficult to digest a lot of the sports products that, of course, are ubiquitous and everywhere in an event and also marketed to us as athletes. And when you're going multiple days, it is tough to do just digesting a lot of these things, digesting them for days on end. And, you know, it's funny, we just actually interviewed Team Bo and Babe, John and Nancy Guth. So folks can stay tuned for that episode if they haven't already seen it. But they told us about one of their secret recipes, which has worked for a number of years. And it happened when Nancy, 70 years old, she's been racing ultra races for a long time. She got into a very difficult place and she was cramping very badly. So her husband, John Goose, 67 years old, also an ultra racer, he made some instant mashed potatoes and dumped in a whole bunch of Endurolite pills, electrolyte pills into it, and it ended up working for them. So anyway, you know, you're talking about those electrolyte pills. There's another very experienced couple who has a lot of great experience with that. So there must be something there.
You're talking about endurolytes, and
Yeah.
it's actually the electrolyte pills that I take. I was taking endurolytes in the
Oh, okay.
States. I
Yeah.
swear by it.
Mm.
And in Europe, they have a different company. It's a parent company to endurolytes. Um, it's called differently, but I that's the same pill. That's what I take. Yeah, I
Oh,
think
yeah, yeah.
they're the ones that work the best for me.
Right. Yeah.
Uh,
Very popular. And I would say, even here again, I always make reference to the California Double Century Series. A lot of the events, I'm not sure there by you, the ultra events, but many here at rest stops, you will find the Hammer Endurolights, perhaps even other brands. But it's something that I've also used before, and I can relate when I've gotten into a position where it was just too hot or I wasn't being disciplined with my hydration. And just being able to pop in a pill or two is always very quick and easy. And so I hope others out there watching can take that to heart, and perhaps they could try it and maybe it'll help them out. And of course, it's helped you and it's helped John and Nancy and many others. So that's cool
I
to
had a full
chat
bag
about.
of them to cross Europe. Of course, I
Yeah.
was lucky because I was sponsored by the UK company,
Ah,
but I had a full bag of them, and
cool.
I will I take a lot of them. So
Right. Now, how about after a ride? I mean, it sounds like you are eating kind of, let's call it regular foods, even during your racing. I'm just curious though, when you finish a nice long bicycle tour, perhaps, or even your own ultra race, what do you like eating as a post-ride meal? At some point after the race, either
Well,
after or the day after.
when I finish the tours, I usually eat at restaurants because I eat with my customers, and so we eat
Mm,
in very good restaurants, and so we have very very good French food.
that's
Um,
awesome.
and always have a beer after the ride, some good
Yeah.
French food, some very good wine,
Mm.
and no, we have to. Um, I'm not 20 years old. I'm not trying to race for the Olympics.
Yeah.
Life is good, and we have
Right.
to enjoy life. So
Yeah.
I don't have like any specific, even though I'm a coach and I used to have like post ride uh, meals and things that were really specific to recover. I
Mm.
no longer do that. I just enjoy life and I have some good food and beer.
Yeah, no, that's good to hear. It is important to balance. There are times in life to be disciplined and focused, and other times to really stop and smell the roses and enjoy what life has to offer. Now, I am on your website. You mentioned a few things that kind of struck a chord in my head, just to give folks some of a glimpse of, well, not only the books that you have in the works or ones that you already have available, but also some of the adventures in your younger years. And of course, I, Tarzan, this is a book coming soon, right?
Yes, yes. It's going to come this winter. It's currently receiving its final proofreading pass. So
Right.
the book is finished almost. So that's going to be my second book, and I think it's even better than the first one, which won 4 awards.
Amazing. Yeah. And so, of course, for those who are wondering, this actually is Jean-Philippe Soule here on his adventures.
Over 20 years ago, yes.
Right. When you were that young 20, 30-year-old, and of course, you still have that adventure explorer heart and mindset. And it's great that you're able to share that with your customers in your touring rides. Now, I'm curious, of course, you live there in the mountains, but do you prefer the climbs or the descents or the rollers or the flats?
That's a very interesting question. So, as I mentioned earlier, I used to race track. I'm a poursuiter. My forte is definitely on the flat. But in French, we say rouleur in the French in the Tour de France peloton. Yeah, I would be a
Mm,
rouleur, not absolutely not a climber. But I love descending mountains. I was when I was young, I was a speed junkie.
yeah.
I rode motorcycles. I just love speed. I just love
Mm,
speed, and I still love speed. Of course, I don't have the reflex I had before. I don't have the same vision, so I'm not quite as fast. But I like to descend very very fast. I love descending the mountains. Um, but I would say that what I prefer is climbing, even though it's not my forte.
mm,
It's climbing. It's discovering the most beautiful landscapes. I love the mountains. I love the
mm.
mountains. I don't like to ride on the flat, even though that would be my forte. That's not what I like. I love the
Mm.
mountains.
Yeah, that's cool.
And I
And
love riding on small mountain roads, not like the very big. Alpe d'Huez is definitely not my favorite.
oh, I see.
I like the small,
Mm.
quiet roads that just take you to a spectacular scenery. And that's what I've tried to put a lot into both the rides that I organize for my customers and the races that I organize.
Right. And that's what I could tell from your photos and also the websites of your cycle tour company and also the Ultra Bike Pursuit. Now, these photos are from your race that you did with your wife last
Yes.
year. And so we could see some of the grand adventures that you were on. And also here on your website, of course, a whole gallery of photos from your adventures. There you are again. So you also do enjoy photography, and your photos have been featured in a variety of publications, which I know is
Yes,
at the top
I
here.
worked as a travel and documentary photographer for quite a few years. Yeah, I got published by National Geographic and United Nations and many other magazines. Yeah.
Yeah, incredible. Which is very cool because then, of course, you are able to document many of your own adventures and to be able to share that with the rest of us. And I'm sure perhaps even your clients on your tours appreciate that as well. Now, getting back to the downhills, so you like descending. What has been your max speed down a hill in your lifetime?
108 kilometers an hour.
Wow.
Going down to Mali.
Ah, geez. So that's about just over 67 miles per hour. That is very fast.
It's actually as fast as the fastest recording pro during the Tour de France,
Wow.
even though it was with open traffic and cars go.
Wow. Yeah, so definitely a speed junkie for sure.
Not any longer. I did that about 15 years ago. I think
Yeah.
the maximum I will go now is about. I haven't reached 100 kilometers an hour in about maybe 6, 7 years.
Mm.
I
Well,
I'm a little more conservative.
yeah, and I guess you should be. You've had many years of living on the edge. Now, of course, you still do, but in other ways, and you're able to enjoy after all those grand adventures. So that's very cool. No, it's very nice to learn about you. Of course, you have a whole variety of experience yourself firsthand. So I could just imagine for the ultra bike pursuit and other things that you do, what you bring to the table and how you shape the things that people participate in. It's very, very exciting. Just curious, when you enjoy riding the most, what season out there in France? Fall, winter, spring, or summertime?
I like them all. I like them all because they're
Hmm.
all different.
Hmm.
I lived in the tropics for a long time, and I love the tropics. I love the ocean. I love the jungle. But when I lived in tropics, I very much miss the four seasons.
Hmm.
I love the four seasons. So in the summer, it's more crowded. Although the Pyrenees is not crowded at all, it's still more crowded, especially when the Tour de France come. Um, and it can be a little hotter. Um, it's not my favorite time, but I really enjoy it because I ride with customers and they discover, those beautiful scenery. So I really enjoy it. But I really like it in the spring because all the mountain tops are still covered with snow. All the flowers are blooming, and there is nobody on the roads. And it's just like we have the mountains for ourselves, and it's just beautiful. I love the fall because the foliage is changing colors, and it's also very, very beautiful. And I love the winter when we are very lucky that the Pyrenees extend between France and Spain, and between the Atlantic Ocean and the Mediterranean Sea. And we have so many microclimates. The west is more humid, and the east is much drier. I live in the center. I live in the heart of the Pyrenees, and it's fairly dry in the winter. We have rain, we have snow sometimes. We have snow in the mountains, but not where I live in the valley, not too much. So we can ride all winter long. And many of the mountain climbs that we do in Tour de France, we can ride them in the winter. Some are closed with snow, but some are ski areas. So they are kept open. The roads are maintained. And my favorite winter climb, for example, is Hautacam. It's the famous mountain finish of the Tour de France, Hautacam, which happens to be the very last climb of the ultra bike pursuits. It's a very, very tough climb, but because it's a ski area and it's a very small ski area, there are not many people. If you go on a weekday in the winter, and because it's all exposed to the sun all day long, you can have like 1 or 2 meter snowbanks, and the road can be entirely dry. On a sunny day, you have just 360 views of snowed mountains, and it's just spectacular, spectacular. So
Wow.
I like all seasons.
Sounds like a dream, Jean-Phi. You're living the dream.
I think living in the Pyrenees is living the dream.
Yeah. And
it's
well, you know, from everything that we've discussed so far and everything I've seen, and others can check out on your various websites, they can see that it hasn't just been now in your later years that you've been living that dream, but quite frankly, your whole life. And that is, I think, a topic of your first book and all of them about sharing the adventures and your choice to do that. So now I did want to quickly mention on the Ultra Bike Pursuit, here's the map. And of course, we saw some of the live tracking with the racers on there. For those who aren't familiar, so France up here, north of Spain. And you were just talking about the Pyrenees, which passes through and divides both those countries. And so you actually live somewhere here in the middle area, you said,
Well,
right?
you see where you see the name Pierre Charles there at the
Hmm.
start.
Right.
Then if you go slightly above, you see the town Tarbes.
Mm.
You see a lake there on the right.
Mm.
Exactly. I live here.
Ah, okay.
So I am not in the mountains. I'm about less than 20 kilometers, I'm about 12 miles from the
Wow.
foot of the mountains, which
That's
means
not
that I can
far.
access all the mountains from home.
Amazing.
But in the winter, there is no snow where I live.
Hmm.
I just can see the snow on the mountains, and I can
Right.
ride all winter around. I can ride. You see that first part of
Mhm.
the ultra bike pursuit that goes right,
Mm.
that goes east. That
Right.
red line
Yes.
from the start. That first section here is called the Pyrenees. It's very wild, very beautiful, and that's my training ground in the winter.
Hmm.
Right here, where you have your mouse. Yes,
Yeah.
this section here, it's just very beautiful.
I can only imagine. Haven't been out there myself, so we'll have to sign up for one of your tours and explore this entire route. Now, of course, if I were to sign up for the Ultra Bike Pursuit, then that would be exactly it. And as you could see, as you mentioned, so in the Ultra Bike Pursuit, there is the ultimate Pyrenees Pursuit, at least this year. That's what it was. And Pierre Charles was the one to finish that and won that. And that is actually both courses, the one that goes out to the right and one that goes out to the left, west to the Atlantic Ocean. And so
Yes.
folks can get some idea in terms of what that looks like. If we look at the elevation here, we could see, so on the red, what that looks like. I mean, all I see really is climbing and descending. And then, of
There
course,
is
even on the
almost
green.
no flat. There is almost no flat. So
Yeah.
it's basically it's two different events that can be combined into one. There are two different start dates. You can choose the Western Pyrenees or you can choose the Eastern Pyrenees.
Right.
And then, or you can do both. So Pierre Charles has done both, but most other participants, they did one or the other. And between the two halves, you can also choose between three different distances.
Ah. Yeah. So
That's
there.
because when I originally, well, the ultrabike pursuit is, you talked about like my life as a outside of cycling, and I think it's a good point because I think when I discovered bikepacking, it was pretty much a combination of my work and my professional life as a cyclist with my other life as a world adventurer, and I think
Yeah.
bikepacking is the perfect combination of all these things that I love. Uh, the uh, the cycling, the sport of cycling, which I absolutely love, but also combined with the adventure and the travel and the discovery and meeting people, which is the other part of life that I really love. And I think bikepacking combines both of these. So
Mm.
it really is a fantastic sport and something I absolutely love. And I wanted to do when I decided to organize a bikepacking event, I wanted to combine all these things. I wanted to put all my life experience of travel, adventure, and always looking for the ultimate challenge, but not only the physical challenge, but the ultimate cultural discovery, the ultimate landscape, just looking for the most beautiful scenery always. So I wanted to combine all of that into a single event.
Yeah.
But
That's very special. And so it wasn't like you had just thrown something together, but it's really
no, no,
been a accumulation of a lifetime of grand adventures and exploration and well thought out. So those who are interested, I think it's safe to say that we can highly encourage people to look in participating because it will be a grand combination of adventure. Of course, as a tour guide, you've been doing that for many years. They can be sure that what you've put together is going to be a fantastic experience overall. And then for those who like a big challenge, you can't get any more difficult than climbing through all of the Pyrenees if that was somebody's choice. But at the same time, you have made it accessible. As you mentioned, there are different options as well. And I know this year there was the Tourmalet Pursuit, and the hardcore loop was 700 miles, 72,200 feet of climbing. And then there was the Hautacam Pursuit. That hardcore loop was 750 miles, 108,300 feet of climbing. You also did have the Discovery Loop, which was 340 miles, 40,700 feet of climbing. And so with that, I mean, there's really no excuse to not sign up. I mean, who wouldn't want to ride in the snow-capped Pyrenees Mountains?
The thing is, what I did when I organized this is I organized my dream event, the event I was dreaming of doing myself. So I combined all the most beautiful roads and all mountains. I wanted no dull flat. I think I really enjoyed the experience of North Cape Tarifa, but there were some very long moments on like dull flat roads, and I don't think every country is perfectly suited for cycling. So even though it's a grand experience and I recommend it, I wanted something where every kilometer was beautiful, every kilometer. So that's with this in mind that I organized the Ultra Bike Pursuit. But then when I finished designing it, which took about 6 months of work, even though I knew every single road by heart, I realized it was way too hard for most people.
I see.
So I thought, if I want anybody to come and even participate, I think I need to give more options of not like easier, but like shorter rides with less elevation. So that's what I did. But I didn't want to compromise on any of the beautiful scenery. So even the short discovery loops are quite challenging. But more manageable by more people because, yes, they have distances and elevation gain that are more manageable.
Right. Yeah, so very well thought out, of course. And I would look forward to participating myself. I think, as you mentioned, you designed it in a way where you would love it and it would be your dream course. And I know for next year, you are planning to rename. So there's the Catalan Pursuit, the Basque Pursuit.
Yes, I'm changing the names. I'm changing the eastern and western names because I think that the Tourmalet and Hotakam, they were the last climbs that people did in each of these events, but they didn't really, I think, give a good idea of what the events were about. I think by choosing the region of Catalonia and the region of the Basque Country as the names of the event, as both events starts in the center of the Pyrenees, in the heart of the Pyrenees, which is called the Haute Pyrénées, and they go to the Mediterranean Sea and back. So they go to Catalonia, so that's the Catalan Pursuit, and then come back. And then the next event goes to the Atlantic Sea, the Atlantic Ocean, sorry, and back to the Haute Pyrénées. So it goes through the Basque Country and back. So that's why I renamed them to after the regions they're crossing.
Right. And it's a lot. I mean, these photos from the course are just breathtaking. Of course, many of us, I'm sure, have seen similar images in the Tour de France, just online and researching or watching some kind of documentary film. But to think that you would be able to ride in all of these beautiful scenes.
Yeah, it's a dream you have to pay for. You need to push up the mountains.
Yes, that is true.
But it really is a dream. And I think that if you're not a pure climber, you should start with the shorter distance. But you will enjoy the scenery so much. I think if you do the discovery, you have up to 5 days to finish the discovery loop. So if you do 500 kilometers in 5 days, that's only 100 kilometers per day. I think most cyclists can do that.
Yeah, that sounds very accessible, very doable. And, as they say, there's always a motivation to get to the top, and perhaps that's the descent on the other side, but that's kind of dull and boring. I think if there's any reason to climb up a mountain, it is captured in these photographs. It would probably just fly by. The time would just pass by so quickly, and you wouldn't want it to end. You would want to do the course another time around. Now, of course, Pierre Charles, who is in this photo, he did something pretty crazy that was almost like that. He had biked. Of course, we did capture an interview with him several episodes ago, and he bicycled from his home to the starting line of the race across France. And then after completing that event, he biked all the way to the starting line of this event, the Ultra Bike Pursuit, did that whole event in over 10 days, around 11. And then he biked home from there.
Yeah, what he did was just incredible. I wasn't sure someone could even finish the ultimate Pyrenees pursuit, and not only finished, but unlike other participants who were all very, very good, and they absolutely loved the full experience, but there are sometimes when they suffered. I never
Mm.
saw Pierre Charles suffer, never.
Hmm.
He had a huge smile on his face all the time. He was like, I'm in paradise. I'm in paradise. It's the most beautiful cycling I've ever done. Every single day, he kept repeating that. And he just never seemed to suffer.
Amazing. But as he said in our interview with him, and of course you were in there helping to translate a bit, although he spoke very good English, he was saying that this event seemed to have been designed specifically for him. And so not only was it your dream course, but it was also his.
I think so. Yes, yes. That's what he kept repeating.
Yeah, that's incredible. And so some amazing photos there. I'm glad you were able to capture those and share those experiences with the rest of us. I think it is a very unique event on the ultra cycling calendar. Of course, there are many adventures all around the world and many courses, but this one is exceptionally unique, very well known. And looking at all the photos, I must say, some of the best views, scenes, and challenges that you could get anywhere in the world. So I do hope to see many more participate in this event in the years to come, and hope to make it out there myself. And I'm sure even my wife and my family would enjoy not riding, I don't think, but perhaps just sightseeing there.
There is a lot of sightseeing.
Yeah.
It's actually very popular. On the tours, we have many people who come, and they come with their non-cycling spouse who do
Mm.
sightseeing, who eat some of the local food, who take a lift up the mountain and visit some of the traditional Basque little villages. And it's just, there is a lot to do. So
Yeah,
yes,
sounds
definitely, even
fantastic.
for cyclists. But for cyclists, it's paradise. It's
Right.
absolute paradise. So it would be fantastic to have you come on the participate in the event. And of course, we welcome. We know it's a little difficult now with the COVID, for Americans to come to Europe.
Yeah.
But hopefully we'll have this behind us very soon, and then life will resume to normal, and then we'll be able
Yeah.
to host American participants on this event,
Right.
not only Europeans.
Something to look forward to in this uncertain time of the pandemic. And I know from a previous episode with Lori Hecklin, episode 19, she loves France and has ridden there many times, I think almost every year. And when I asked her what she's looking forward to in the post-pandemic era, once things start easing up and opening up again, she said she, of course, would love to go to France and climb all the mountains again. So if Laura, you're watching, I think we found your dream ultra race also. And I wouldn't be surprised if she signs up for the event, if she hasn't already or hasn't already put it on her radar, because she loves riding out there. She's done an Everesting challenge out there on I think 1 or 2 climbs on different occasions. And so, wow, I think Jean-Phi, once more people get to know of this course, I think you'll find that you've actually put together the dream course for many cyclists.
Well, I certainly hope so, because as it's always been my goal to share my passion, and I have a passion for this sport and a passion for these mountains. I'm from the Pyrenees,
Mm.
and I love these mountains, and so I hope that I can share this passion with many others. So yes, I hope so.
Yes, and I could see that. And again, do appreciate you sharing that passion. And I could see that that is all that exudes from you. So it's a pleasure to talk with you. Now, I am wondering for you, in all of the events that you have not just written, but also have put together and hosted, and all the tours that you've done, what do you think ultra cycling requires more of, physical or mental training and fortitude?
I think mental training is the mental training, and just never giving up. It's the key, I think. in every ultra endurance. It doesn't have to be only cycling. In kayaking, in trekking, in running, in cross country skiing. I think
Mm.
I think the mental is more important than the physical training. Of course, physical training is important, but the mental is everything, I think.
Mm. Yes, very well said. And of course, coming from a man who has done 8,000 or so, what was it, 8,000 kilometers last year with your wife and all of the other grand adventures. Of course, for those who are very curious to learn more and to get involved, jeanphilippesoule.com, they can find out all about your adventures. And of course, as an author, you do have books that people can read to learn all about it and to see this colorful life that you've had as a travel adventurer, as an athlete yourself, as we began the show in the introduction, a humanitarian, photographer, and a motivational speaker. So if somebody is looking, both individuals and also businesses, looking for somebody to get folks fired up, I think we definitely have found the right person.
Well, thank you.
And of course, on your Facebook page, including your website, folks can find out more and follow your journey as an author also. Now, Dancing with Death was your first book, right?
Yes, that was my first book published in 2019. It's about my 3-year sea kayak expedition in Central America to document the lifestyle of indigenous people.
Wow.
So it's an epic adventure, and I did that with my kayaking partner Luc Schellenberger, who's from Vermont in the States.
Mm.
Very very close friend, and so we shared that adventure for 3 years, and it was just epic. We're very lucky to have survived, and
Yes.
and to be there to tell the story. So it's actually a book we co-wrote together.
Mm.
And that's my first book. My second book is coming out this winter. It's my second book is more like my biography. My first my childhood in France, my
Mm.
experience in the French Special Forces in mountain rescue,
Hmm.
and then my experience moving to the States and living the American dream until I quit the American dream and Microsoft to live my own dream of an adventure life.
Incredible. Very
And I have a
inspirational.
third book. I have a third book
Wow.
which is specifically about ultra cycling.
Well, and what is that one going to be called? Do you have a title for that
I
you could
don't
share?
know. I don't know.
No.
I finished writing the first draft. It's currently in the first editing pass.
Mm.
So I'm not sure. Maybe in the spring or hopefully in the winter.
Very cool. And for your second book, I, Tarzan, again, on your website, a lot of great content there. I did want to show folks because I remember seeing a nice series of photos of Jean-Phi himself here, age 2, already adventuring in the French Pyrenees. So you were born and raised to be an explorer. And it's so cool. It must be awesome looking back. You're 54 years old now, looking back and seeing that you have been able to live out what you set out to do from the very beginning. Age 18.
Yeah,
There you are.
that's the story in 8,000, but that was not easy. That
Mm,
came with many a lot of adversity,
I
many
can only
odds to
imagine.
fight against. So
And there you are, age 18, French mountain commando. So it would be exciting to read your books to learn all about that adversity and how you've overcome. Of course, that is a cornerstone of ultra minded people and ultra cyclists, of course, that in every ride, whether it's a race, a bikepacking event, a tour, there is always things to overcome and lessons to learn and epic adventures to be had. And of course, you epitomize that very well through your whole life. And it's amazing that you're still doing that to this very day. And, with Velotopo, your cycle touring company, you are able to share that passion with others as you've expressed as your desire. And so it's cool that we all have the opportunity to participate and to enjoy all that you have found enjoyable in life and all the adventures that you've loved. And there's a nice write-up of yourself as well for those who'd like to know more about who you are on the site. Great photographs. There you are, living the life.
It's true that being a tour operator and a cycling guide is the dream life.
Mm.
It's not a get rich life, but it's so rich with the experience and the people you meet. So it's what I love the most about it, is that I meet wonderful people, and we live the dream together.
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing. And of course, you have many years of experience and you've explored, you've been to the four corners of the world. So hearing that come from you, I think is very informative and very important to emphasize that in the life that you've chosen to live your dream, it is very rich with experience and joy and passion. And of course, is you and your wife being able to do this and enjoy it together. So that must be just an unforgettable partnership. And every day must be such a grand adventure, I could imagine.
Yeah, it's tough when she gives me a hard time in the mountains, when she kicks my butt. And
Yeah, right.
No, I'm joking. I'm joking. No, it's fantastic. It's fantastic. We can
Yeah.
share this, and these are our happy customers there.
Mm.
Yes, it's a grand life. It's a grand life. I loved working at Microsoft.
Mm.
It was a good experience. I loved it, but it was not a life for me. This is the life for me.
Mm. Yeah, and you're living that life very well and sharing it with others. So that's really a blessing for cyclists all around the world to have somebody that is so aware and so knowledgeable about the French Pyrenees and, well, all of the Pyrenees, and as an adventurer and explorer and fearless one at that. I think you make for a great leader in all that you do. And so
Well,
I know I'll look forward to following your adventures and also reading your books and also staying in touch with the ultra bike pursuit to see all of the adventures that come out of that from the people that sign up for that event. And again, hope that I can make it out there one day to participate. I think that would in itself be a great accomplishment, but also a great adventure. Perhaps it can kickstart a life of adventuring just like Jean-Phi has embarked on the last several decades.
it's never too late. It's never too late, and
Yeah.
it's a compromise. I mean, it's not always easy. There are some difficult times, but like in everything else. So it's a choice. It's a choice of life, and I think it was a good choice for me.
Yes, I would agree. I think we can all agree on that, Jean-Phi. Great choice that you made. I'm sure it wasn't an easy one, but looking back now to see how far you've come and the joy and passion that you still have till this day, and I'm sure you're just at the halfway point of life. I'm sure you'll get to at least 100 and you'll still be adventuring then.
Well, I hope so. I hope so. I hope I still be on my bicycle at least in my 80s, and climbing mountains. But we'll see.
Yeah, so Jean-Phi, it's been a pleasure chatting with you. In closing, I have several other short questions. I think the first one is simply, what tips do you have for other people, not just to get started with ultra cycling, but in the context of your own life, get started with adventuring in the manner that you have?
Just if you have a dream, follow your dream. Don't be held by anybody who tell you that you cannot do it, and don't be held by yourself telling yourself that you cannot do it. I think it's when you ask me about what is the most important in ultra bikepacking or ultra cycling, I tell you it's the mind, and I think it's the truth not only in cycling but in life, in any endurance sports, but also in life. I think it's like if you dream of something, just believe that you can do it and try it. And even if you don't succeed, it doesn't matter, because it's not the end goal that matters the most. It's experience getting there. So it's the same thing in cycling. In cycling, it's not reaching the finish that is the most important. It's to participate and to enjoy every moment of it, or even to suffer. I mean, it's part of the experience, but
Right.
it's that full experience that is the most important. And it's the same thing in life. I think if you have a dream, just follow your dream, and then no matter what, no matter if you manage to realize it or not, I think your experience following your dream will be the life that you're supposed to live. So that would be my best recommendation.
I love that, Jean-Phi. Beautifully said. And of course, you have lived that out very well, and you are a proof that that is possible if you follow your dreams and your passions. And that is very important. And oddly enough, when I did the Race Across America, my slogan written on my jersey was, in fact, the journey is the destination. And so I can relate and appreciate what you just said very much so. We always talk about the distance of the event for the Race Across America, 3,000 miles, for the event that you did last year with your wife, 8,000 kilometers. But in fact, the journey to the starting line in itself is what really shapes you to be the kind of person or the cyclist to be able to make that trek across a continent or a country or whatever the case may be. So very well said, and look forward to reading your
I think the
books.
adventure starts as soon as you start dreaming.
Ooh, that's a good one, Jean-Phi. We're gonna have to tweet that one.
Well, you should read. I mean, you and your auditors should read my books, because I think it's. I think I carry that across very, very well in the books I write. I use my life experience and the adventure to really try to show that philosophy of life. So
yeah, well, we look forward to it, Jean-Phi, and thank you for your time. Couple short questions in closing out in a fun way. Sprint line to the finish. How would you rate yourself in terms of bicycle maintenance? My guess is it would be high because you have a bicycle tour company, but perhaps there's other people that help with that. On a scale of 1 to 10, where would you put yourself? 10 being great.
maybe 8.
Wow. Okay. Great.
I would say I'm not a professional bike mechanic, but I do everything on my bike.
All right.
So yeah, I on a road bike I do everything. On a mountain bike, no. I don't touch this. I don't touch suspensions and things like this.
Right.
But on a road bike I do everything. When it's customers' bikes, I prefer to have, depending on the size of the group, professional mechanic that often work with us. I prefer to have them work on the bikes. But if I have to, yeah, I can do pretty much everything.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. That's great. Now, do you have a dream bicycle still that you would love to own one day, or do you already own it? Is it your Holland bicycle?
Yes, I think I can't imagine anything better than that. I loved my Specialized S-Fox Tarmac. I loved it. I had 2 in a row actually. But when I started to ride my Holland bike, I just it was much better. Even though I had heard from all my customers who come on that group with Bill that the Holland bike is fantastic, and they all had multiple bikes and they all preferred their Holland bike. I thought, well, sure, it's going to be good. I mean, it has to be, custom made bike, but I didn't expect it to be. I didn't expect it to be that good. It's like having a pure racing bike, which at the same time is like extremely smooth. It's an amazing feeling. So yeah, no, I can't imagine of anything better.
Yeah, that sounds like a dream bike to me. All right, Jean-Phi, last question. Who would you want to nominate for an episode on this show? Of course, we already have had Pierre Charles on the show. Has there been someone else who has inspired you in your own life, or a story that you would just like to know more about yourself?
That's a hard question. No, in the cycling, no, I don't know. I think I've been inspired by so many people. I mean, in life, I think I'm inspired by all the people who live very adventurous life. My first inspiration was Jacques Cousteau when I was 3 years old. I think he's probably the one that gave me the adventure bug, I think, since I was 3 years old. So Tarzan was my other inspiration. Was at 5 years old, which is why it's the title of my book. But I've always been inspired by people who live an adventure life. So I think I'm sure that you could take any participant of an ultra backpacking race, and they will be passionate people, because you have to be to do this type of event.
Yes. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's very true. And that's the beautiful thing about the ultra cycling family, that we are all of the same mindset, and we can appreciate the challenges, but also the adventures and the beauty in all that we do. And when you could share it with somebody, that you can't beat that. And so it's really cool to see you and your wife being able to not only ride together, but able to live this dream of adventure together from the very beginning when you met. And so, Jean-Phi, we'll be following your journey very closely. We wish you all the best on all of your upcoming adventures. Look forward to seeing you out there in the Pyrenees very soon. And until then, just take care and have fun with all your adventures.
Well, thank you very much for having me on your show, and I look forward to meeting you in person in the close future. But in the meantime, we stay in touch.
Yes, I can't wait. So thanks a lot. And for everyone watching at home, I hope you got some good inspiration from this. But more than that, also, you got a glimpse into some of the grand adventure awaiting you. Definitely check out one of Jean-Phi's books, and also check out the Ultra Bike Pursuit. I'm sure you would enjoy it as an ultra cyclist and also as a great challenge. Until next episode, everyone, keep spinning ultra.